All right, how is everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA, and thanks for tuning in to the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? And what I want to get into today, or I should say actually what I want to call this segment, is I'm exhausted by society's phoniness in the public. And I hope I don't offend too many people on this one, but I'm just really exhausted from people behaving one way in public when I know privately they're really an entirely different person. And I understand a lot of us put on certain personas because we have to, I guess, to a certain degree. I guess at work we all have a certain persona. If we have children as adults or parents, we have a certain persona. Even as me being with my parents. And I think I've realized this more and more lately because my mother's been listening to my podcast and she's always like, I can't believe you were like this. I can't believe you did this. And the truth is, I was like that. I didn't necessarily mean to hide a lot of things from her, but I don't think it was like in my best nature to all of a sudden tell my mother everything I was going through financially when I was younger, mentally, all the kind of the trouble I was getting in and out of, and just the lifestyle I wanted to live. I'm not saying it wasn't, it's really none of her business. Truthfully, what we do after we're adults. And so that's one of the things. And that's not really what I'm just using that for an example. I by no means was being phony because if most people knew who I was and what I was doing, I guess to a certain degree I was hiding that from my mother. My father knew a lot of things I was doing just because I worked with him and I was with him a lot more, but my mother living in a different state, she didn't know a lot of things that was going on. And plus, I'm not going to swear. And the one thing I never wanted to do was embarrass my parents. I never wanted to embarrass myself, but I had no fear of consequences of my actions a lot of times when I was younger. I still think sometimes I go through that too, even verbally. A lot of times I say things that may be inappropriate. I do things that maybe are offsetting. Anyways, let me get some water here. But what I want to get into today is regarding how people act or proclaim that they're something they're not, which I think takes a toll on those people. And a lot of people also don't realize we know you're full of shit. And a lot of people aren't willing to call other people out on their bullshit. I will, truthfully, a lot of times just be like, you're full of shit, or stop, whatever it is, I'll just call you out on it. I just can't take it. And even if sometimes I'm bullshitting or I say or do something, and I hope my friends would call me out and say, no, you don't feel that way, or no, remember when you did that, or you don't, and I get it. I like that. I like being called out on my bullshit. I like people that argue and make their point that a lot of times my point may not be right, or it may be offsetting, or it may not be the right thing to say at that point in time. And I understand that. And back to people, again, it goes back to, I once heard these Europeans, I don't know who they were, but I was talking to them once, some Italians, and it was very interesting because the perspective they had on America was, a lot of us pretend to be something, and we're not that. And obviously that comes from our programming. I think our parents, it's not their fault, wanted us to be raised a certain way. It could be religious. It could be because of the ethnic background. They want to program us and hold on to their values. And I've discussed that before. But I think a lot of times it actually programs us to kind of be full of shit and not learn how to break out and become our own person, I guess you could say. So, and here's the thing too, I think, especially with, I made some independent films and things, and I really got into realizing more and more performing. So we're all performers. We're just basically playing the role of ourselves to a certain degree. And I realized, especially being involved with film, like when people were acting, not acting, obviously, or people in the entertainment business, that a lot of times that's a persona you're seeing. You understand that. And even though you think, I don't care if it's a late night host, you think, oh yeah, that's how he is in public, or that's how he is in life. No, he's got a public persona on television. Then he probably has another persona at home. And then when you pull back some layers, a lot of times you find out they almost have another persona, and that's where you hear all the bullshit that they get caught doing. And that goes for a lot of people in general, not even in entertainment. I think, back to the phoniness, a lot of people I'm really exhausted from proclaiming that they're anti-porno or porn, right? They're against that because of the religious value. A lot of men you hear, oh my God, I can't believe this and that, and they're on porn websites. You're just a pussy, I'd hate to tell you. It's one thing to say, you know what, I'm really, I'm not for porn, but don't be almost totally against it, or in society pretend that you don't go to porn websites. Same with, hypothetically, drugs. A lot of people I know talk about being anti-drug and anti this and anti that when they're doing it. Here's the thing. I get what's illegal and legal, and I'm not asking anybody to say if you like doing coke, pop out of, and start doing bumps or start doing blow on a table. Obviously, it's against the law. But the truth is, again, a lot of us know who is a cokehead. We know the guys that love weed. We know other guys that are popping pills. It goes down the line. I don't care if it's mushrooms, whatever. A lot of us know that about you. But the ones that really are pretending that they're not doing these things, I just think it's ridiculous. Now, again, I'm not telling that person to sit there and openly keep talking about doing drugs. I'm not saying that. But don't go so far the other way and pretend that you're anti, I guess, this. And that goes for a lot of things. I don't mean to just get into drugs. I just think even at the workplace that I've seen over the years, and it could be even in school, it's kind of coming off with an image of who you're not and pretending you're for things that you're really not for, and you're against things that you're really not against. And I talk about that in my Mastering Self-Confidence program, not to bring that up again, with men, because they truly don't, they get confused in their identity from when a lot of times they can't break out of something because, again, they're afraid to start changing their identity because then people are going to be looking at them differently. And I get that to a certain point. But if you do want to start being honest in society, you have to first be honest with yourself. But I think a lot of us are lying to ourselves all the time, either saying, you know what, this is the last time I'm going to do this, or I'm going to change after this, or I'm going to do this. You kind of know who you are. And a lot of people, you may not even realize this, they know who you are. Because when you don't realize, I always say step outside yourself. And, really a lot of people are good at reading other people and being like, wow, he has this good trait, that good trait. He's kind of got some bad traits, or her as well. This is good, that's bad. I kind of see this in them. But they really think that they're pulling they're pulling something off, because when it comes to them, they think, oh, I can fool all these people. They don't know what I'm doing, or they'll never figure me out. And usually you're going to get exposed. I'm going to tell you right now, even in relationships, hypothetically, if you're in a relationship, you could be married, you could just be engaged, you could just be dating someone, and you're cheating, let's just say, and you think you're never going to get caught, you most likely are going to get caught. And if you're not going to get caught necessarily, again, the only one you're really kind of cheating is yourself. If you have an open relationship, that's different. But again, you kind of are, what are you actually doing if you're pretending you're anti-cheating, or you're against this, or you don't want your wife or girlfriend or whoever, if you're a girl, you don't want your guys. But then again, you can do it, you can do whatever you want. That's what kind of our country's about, freedom, right? But it's the ones that are constantly, I guess, preaching and the pretending that I can't take anymore. I think just as a human being, for yourself, figure out who you really are, what you like. I'm telling you, it'll be a million times easier. Even if you're older and you still like rock and roll, but say your girlfriend or wife thinks you're a dork for listening to rock and roll, or doesn't want to hear it, or just thinks, and if you like still sports cars, and but somebody is, now you're being married and people would frown upon you getting a sports car if you always wanted a boat, but your family's like, forget that shit, it's a waste of money, it's a money pit or whatever. If you want to go boating, go boating. Don't convince yourself now because someone convinced you that boating is bad now, or you can't afford it, or whatever the case may be. If you like something, don't give it up for someone else, and don't let somebody kind of, like, their phony opinions make you all of a sudden turn into a phony for yourself. You know what you like, you know what you want to do. I think you could do whatever you want to do, as long as you're not obviously hurting others. But the more genuine I think you are to yourself is going to be much better to everyone. And I think I've been going through that with even my podcast, my videos. Because sometimes I saw my own identity. People always thought I was always dressed up, which I do dress up a lot. I'll just use for an example. So a lot of photos, I didn't want to always be seen. I could be seen doing funny things or this and that. But over the years, I'm like, no, I can only be seen this way. But I'm like, you know what? I'm only dressed up probably a third of the time, mainly when I work or when I travel. But then when I'm back in Florida, I kind of look like a golfer. So I'm always in shorts and like a polo shirt or a t-shirt because I was always tired of overdressing. But I remember even when I first did my videos, I'm like, oh my God, I'm always going to have to be dressed up. Then I'm like, what are you talking about? You're usually in, like I said, golf wear or fitness wear. Because usually you're on your own time if you're not working, or I'm kind of overly dressed up. I like wearing 2 or 3-piece suits or, putting those type of things together. I love being dressed up. And also I like it because it's warmer. It's warm when I'm in cold weather. And in Florida or even California where it's hotter, I don't like to sweat to death. So back to casual wear, when I was doing my videos, I was almost dressed up outside the gym, right? I'm doing videos about fitness and all the different gyms I'm going to. I'm like, what are you, just dress the way you're going to the gym. If you're dressed up that day, you're dressed up. If you're not, you're not. It was almost like a phony persona for me. I'm like, Rich, if you wear baseball caps backwards like a kid, everybody else seems to see in Florida. I just don't take photos like that in the public, but I wanted people to actually start seeing me for who I was. And even doing the podcast, I was like, holy shit. Talking, I'm like, this is really who I am. And I don't think a lot of people knew that about me. And I discussed that before. A lot of my cousins that I even grew up with was like, Rich, I never knew that about you or that about you. And I understand I have a public platform to do this. But I really had to go through that myself to say, even after I got a divorce with who I'm with now, when I was creating my book, Wingman, because I started that and I wanted to be an honest approach on how to help men find the woman, basically, or women of their dreams, or guide them. All the pitfalls, strengths, weaknesses that I went through over all the years, and me being involved with the nightclub business and seeing all these different things throughout my entire life with my father. But I wanted to be honest. So when my girlfriend came, she started to help me write it. I almost started to back up a little and go, well, I can't write this now because then how's she going to look at me? And then I asked her about that, and we even discussed that. I'm like, I just have to be honest here. This is who I am. You know what I mean? This is it. I don't care if guys want to go through, they want to have threesomes. I don't care if it's about cheating. I don't care if it's about my past, what I did, I got in trouble, all these things. I just wanted an honest approach on my life because I think even being married for a long time, I was one way before I got married, which was very extreme. Then I got married. I did like a 180. It was very extreme as far as me trying to be the best parent and husband I could. And the reality was, before I was married and when I was married, both of them really weren't me necessarily. They were me. I lived it. But I'm kind of a combination of both. And I will say, being around my father more lately and my mother, I realized how much I'm both like them. But I was able to discover myself and just say, my God, just stop trying to, I don't want to say, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to impress. I think I was caught up with trying to always impress my parents. And I think that's what I did why I did a lot of things that I was doing. Even making films, because my mother loved old films, loved movies, loved showbiz, and my dad loved movies, entertainment as well. He was more on the music thing. I wasn't on music, but we loved movies too. And I kept, I didn't make movies necessarily for them, but I definitely made movies and kind of wanted to live a life of that, even going to a lot of major shows and, having movie premieres and even being in LA or knowing all these different peoples and having a certain persona to impress my parents, family members, and colleagues. That's just, a lot of times I'd be like, no, that's not me. I'm just doing it because I love it. No, there was another side of me, to be honest, to say, hey, I'm doing this for this reason, right? I dress up because I want attention. I go to these, I'm on red carpet events because, again, I like the attention. I like the people. I just like the event in itself. The whole thing. I just had to be honest with myself. And that's what I'm trying to say for people out there listening to this. Don't phony yourself up. You do certain things because you like to do them. And if some of those things are maybe in society kind of frowns upon them, too bad. Because I can assure you most people out there are doing a lot of things that a lot of people would frown upon. They're just doing it privately and secretively and kind of living a life of a lie. You don't have to do that. Again, I'm not telling you that if you like porn, you're going to be showing everybody sending links to porn and things and all that. Maybe you have friends that like that. And again, kind of surround yourself with people that you do have things in common with, again, and be honest with yourself. If, at certain times of your life, and I've seen this even with my friends, they're whatever they are, and then all of a sudden they become religious. So then they become where they can only hang with religious people, and I get that. But then I've also seen where they get exhausted from religion, and then they leave that, and they're kind of lost out there. Because now their old friends, they kind of removed themselves from, even though they're still kind of friends with them, but because they weren't religious, they dismissed them. And then when they became religious, then they got exhausted from religion, and they kind of dismissed them. Where do they kind of stand? And I get that. I understand that. And that just happened not long to a friend of mine. And I said, no one, a lot of people don't care. Just be yourself. You're going to go through different chapters in your life, right? One minute you may believe in God, the next minute you don't. The next minute you may believe in God again, maybe you don't. Don't beat yourself over that. Just be honest with yourself. I'm telling you, it's the best thing you can do for you, your friends, your family members, and all that. Because, if you can't, again, be honest with yourself, especially with your core beliefs, and especially with things regarding religion or even politics, you may change your mind. There's nothing wrong with that. And I know a lot of times we think, oh my God, if I change this, how is everyone else going to look around me? I might as well just stay in this situation because I'm afraid to break out of it because my friends, family members, who knows, now are going to frown upon me. Well, too bad, right? Too bad. You can't become a prisoner in your own life. Please open your mind, take your time. That, again, doesn't mean you have to rush into anything because I talk about that with identities, people that kind of go extreme. So one minute you are this way and then all of a sudden tomorrow you're a punk rocker and then in a month later you're, I don't know what the hell you are. You could be goth and then the next minute you're a golfer or a preppy kid or whatever. That could get a little crazy and people are going to look at you like you're a little nuts, but do what you got to do. But if you kind of figure out what you really want to be or where you want to go to be genuine with yourself and show people who you truly are, just kind of move in that direction. And if people truly love you, they're going to go with you. If they keep condemning you or analyzing you or judging you, F them. I'd hate to say that. And I know that's easy for me to say because a lot of people are like, if I don't do this, my parents will, disown me. If I don't do that, my work will, I can't do that because of this or that. Well, then maybe you need to find another job. You're not going to find new parents, but your parents, if you're genuine with yourself, I think that's the best thing a parent can ever ask for. I want my daughters to be who they want to be. I don't want them to be anything else. I don't want them to be me. I don't want them to have my beliefs. I don't want them to think every move they make, I'm kind of a helicopter kind of parent or judging them. Sure, I want the best for my parents, my daughters. But again, I just want them to be them. And hopefully they go into a safe environment, but they can always have the freedom to believe in themselves. So I'm going to wrap it up there. If you get a chance, you can check out my YouTube channel, Rich CELENZA, just my name. Besides the podcast. And what else do I got? I got a LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram page as well. And I have that program, like I said, Mastering Self-Confidence. It's the blueprint to help men find the woman or women of their dreams. All you got to do is go to masteringselfconfidence.com. I get into a lot of things trying to help men, but women can listen to it too or check it out. It's about really helping men find their true identity, also along with helping them with fitness, fashion, grooming advice. I also have a book out called Wingman. If you join my program, you get a copy of the book or just an ebook. And then if you're a woman by any chance, I wrote a book called The Model Bible. I really don't talk about it on my podcast, but it was actually to help female models break into the industry. And it's also to help parents protect their daughters and for women to protect themselves. And so, yeah, check that out as well. And that's really all I got for you today. And I'm just going to wrap it up there. If you're traveling, safe travels, and I wish you nothing but the best.